You hear it from your doctor, you read it in every health magazine, and your children constantly remind you to do it. Drink more water, stay hydrated, flush out those toxins. It has become the ultimate, unquestionable rule of wellness. As a result, millions of adults over the age of 60 have developed a hyper-vigilant dedication to hydration. You carry a massive stainless steel water tumbler with you wherever you go. When you feel a slight tickle of thirst, or when you realize you haven't taken a drink in a few hours, you lift that heavy bottle and aggressively chug down 16 or 20 ounces of water in a matter of seconds. You wipe your mouth, feeling a sense of accomplishment. You believe you have just performed the ultimate act of preventative maintenance for your aging body. But what if I told you that this very specific, aggressive method of drinking water is secretly creating a catastrophic hydraulic crisis inside your blood vessels? What if I told you that treating your stomach like a funnel and dumping massive volumes of freezing cold water into your system does not just hydrate you, but actively initiates a terrifying biological chain reaction? Every single day, seniors suffer sudden, inexplicable spikes in blood pressure, mysterious fainting spells, and devastating ischemic strokes, completely unaware that the trigger was not a clogged artery or a missing pill, but the massive deluge of water they forced into their body just moments before. Today, we are going to expose the hidden, highly pressurized mechanics of human hydration. I am going to reveal exactly why chugging water turns your bloodstream into a pressurized time bomb. We will explore the terrifying nerve reflex triggered by ice cubes, how mixing a large glass of water with your morning blood pressure pill can cause your brain to physically swell inside your skull, and why taking a drink right before bed is the absolute worst thing you can do for your stroke risk. Before we dive into the heavy fluid dynamics of the human cardiovascular system, I must provide you with my standard, critically important medical disclaimer. This video is intended strictly for educational purposes. I am a doctor, but I am not your personal doctor. The profound physiological processes and vascular reactions we are about to discuss are based on extensive, peer-reviewed medical science. However, fluid management is a highly specific, dangerous tightrope for many seniors. If you have been diagnosed with congestive heart failure, chronic kidney disease, or if your cardiologist has placed you on a strict fluid restriction, you must follow their specific, personalized orders to the letter. Do not ever use the information in this presentation to abruptly change a medical protocol. Use the knowledge I am sharing with you today to educate yourself, to understand the raw physical power of the liquids you consume, and to become a highly informed advocate for your own safety. Then, take this knowledge directly to your primary care physician to have a serious conversation about your unique hydration needs. To understand why a simple glass of water can cause a stroke, you have to fundamentally change how you view water. Stop thinking about it as a harmless, weightless, refreshing idea. You must start thinking about water as a dense, heavy physical mass. When you swallow water, it does not magically vanish. It drops into your stomach, passes into your small intestine, and is rapidly absorbed directly into your bloodstream. Your cardiovascular system is a closed loop of plumbing. Your heart is the pump, and your arteries are the pipes. The amount of liquid inside those pipes is called your blood plasma volume. When you are 20 years old, your heart is a powerhouse, and your arteries are as flexible as brand new rubber bands. If you chug a massive 32-ounce bottle of water, that water enters your blood, rapidly expanding your blood plasma volume. But because your arteries are young and flexible, they simply stretch open to accommodate the extra liquid. The pressure stays perfectly stable. But as we cross into our 60s, that physical infrastructure changes. Decades of minor inflammation, arterial plaque buildup, and the natural aging process cause those rubber band arteries to become incredibly stiff. Furthermore, the heart muscle itself often becomes somewhat rigid, a condition called diastolic dysfunction. The system loses its elasticity. Now, imagine what happens when a 65-year-old adult realizes they haven't drank enough water today, so they grab a large bottle and rapidly chug 20 ounces in 60 seconds. That massive volume of heavy fluid hits the stomach and is aggressively pulled into the bloodstream. In a matter of minutes, the physical volume of blood inside their circulatory system violently expands. But the aging, stiffened arteries cannot stretch to accommodate this massive new hydraulic load. Because the pipes cannot widen, the physical pressure inside the system has nowhere to go but up. A landmark study published in the American Heart Association Journal of Hypertension documented this exact phenomenon. Researchers discovered that rapidly drinking just 16 ounces of water can cause a significant, immediate, and sharp spike in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure in older adults. Their cardiovascular system is suddenly overwhelmed by a massive, unavoidable surge of hydraulic pressure. Your heart is suddenly forced to pump a massively increased volume of heavy fluid against a wall of stiff, constricted arteries. If you have an underlying silent cholesterol plaque hiding in your carotid artery, the main artery leading to your brain, this sudden vertical spike in blood pressure creates immense shear stress. The sheer mechanical force of that pressurized, heavy blood can snap the fragile cap of the plaque right off. The plaque ruptures, a blood clot forms instantly, shoots up into your brain, and you suffer a massive ischemic stroke. You were simply trying to stay hydrated, but by chugging the water, you created a fatal hydraulic overload. This brings me to the absolute first rule of senior hydration. The body absorbs water beautifully when it is introduced slowly, but it violently rejects water when it is introduced rapidly. You must never treat your throat like a funnel. You must sip your water. But the volume of the water is only half of the danger. The second terrifying trigger is the temperature. We must talk about the deadly physiological reflex known as the ice water shock. On a hot summer afternoon, after working in the garden or taking a brisk walk, there is nothing more tempting than a glass of water loaded to the brim with ice cubes. You are sweating, your core temperature is elevated, and you want instant relief. You take a massive, freezing gulp. When that ice-cold water hits the back of your throat and drops down your esophagus, it comes into incredibly close physical contact with one of the most important neurological superhighways in your entire body, the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs from your brainstem, down your neck, directly past your esophagus, and straight into your heart. It is the master control cable for your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the system responsible for slowing your heart rate down. When you dump a massive volume of freezing 32-degree ice water directly past the vagus nerve, the nerve experiences a massive, violent thermal shock. It panics. It interprets the freezing temperature as an extreme, life-threatening emergency. In a desperate attempt to protect the body, the vagus nerve fires a massive electrical signal directly into the pacemaker of your heart, commanding it to immediately and drastically slow down. This is known as profound bradycardia. Your heart rate can plummet from a normal 80 beats per minute down to 30 beats per minute in the blink of an eye. Because your heart is suddenly barely beating, the blood pressure supplying your brain absolutely bottoms out. The room begins to spin, your vision goes completely black, and you suffer a terrifying fainting spell, collapsing to the floor. But the danger does not stop when you hit the ground. When your brain senses that its blood supply has been choked off by this slow heart rate, your sympathetic nervous system, your fight-or-flight response, violently kicks in to save your life. It commands your adrenaline glands to dump a massive, explosive surge of adrenaline and noradrenaline into your bloodstream. This adrenaline instantly forces every blood vessel in your body to clamp shut and orders your heart to beat with absolute maximum, furious power. So, within the span of 60 seconds, your cardiovascular system has gone from a normal state to a sudden, freezing near cardiac arrest to a violent adrenaline-fueled hypertensive crisis. This extreme pendulum-swinging volatility is the absolute perfect recipe for a cardiovascular catastrophe. The sudden adrenaline spike forces your heart to beat erratically, triggering a lethal arrhythmia like atrial fibrillation. The European Journal of Applied Physiology has published extensive data on the hemodynamic responses to cold water ingestion, verifying that rapid thermal changes inside the esophagus cause dramatic, often dangerous fluctuations in cardiac output. If you are over the age of 60, ice water is not a refreshing treat. It is a thermal shock weapon aimed directly at your vagus nerve. You must transition entirely to room temperature water. Now, we must transition from the physical mechanics of water to the complex microscopic chemistry of hydration. And this is where millions of seniors unknowingly mix their daily hydration habits with their prescription medications to create a fatal neurological crisis. We have to talk about the sodium washout, medically known as hyponatremia. As we age, our kidneys become less efficient at maintaining the delicate chemical balance of our blood. Your blood requires a very specific, tightly controlled concentration of sodium, salt, to conduct electrical signals and manage the fluid balance inside your cells. If you have high blood pressure, there is a massive statistical probability that your doctor has prescribed you a diuretic. The most common are thiazide diuretics like hydrochlorothiazide or chlorthalidone. These drugs lower your blood pressure by literally forcing your kidneys to expel sodium and water from your body into your urine. So, your baseline sodium levels are already being forcefully, medically lowered every single day. Now imagine you read an article that says you need to drink a gallon of water a day to stay healthy. You diligently fill your massive water jug and you drink it down, glass after glass, aggressively forcing pure water into your system. You are creating a catastrophic chemical imbalance. You are pouring massive amounts of pure, unsalted water into a bloodstream that has already been medically stripped of its sodium by your blood pressure pill. Your blood becomes violently diluted. The sodium concentration drops into the danger zone. This is where the physics of osmosis takes over. Because the blood is now highly diluted, the excess water physically leaves the bloodstream and aggressively pushes its way directly into your body's cells, trying to find equilibrium. The cells absorb the water and begin to swell like water balloons. If a muscle cell in your arm swells, it is uncomfortable, but you will survive. But your brain cells are trapped inside a solid, unyielding bone vault, your skull. When your brain cells are forced to absorb this excess water, they physically swell, but they have absolutely no room to expand. The pressure inside your skull begins to climb. This is acute hyponatremia, and it is a terrifying, life-threatening medical emergency. It completely mimics the symptoms of a massive stroke. You will develop a severe, splitting headache. You will become profoundly confused, unable to remember where you are or recognize your own spouse. Your muscles will become incredibly weak, and you may begin to uncontrollably vomit. If the brain swelling continues, the pressure will crush your brainstem, leading to violent seizures, a permanent coma, and eventually, death. The American Journal of Kidney Diseases has published countless warnings regarding the lethal combination of thiazide diuretics and aggressive water consumption in the elderly. Older adults do not die from dehydration very often. They die from overhydration. They literally drown their brain cells from the inside out because they were blindly following a generic hydration rule without factoring in the potent chemistry of their daily medications. If you take a diuretic for your blood pressure, you cannot blindly chug water. You must drink only when you are genuinely thirsty, and you must understand that the color of your urine is your ultimate guide, not an arbitrary quota of ounces. If your urine is completely clear, like water, you are drinking too much, and you are actively washing away your vital electrical minerals. Finally, we must address a hydration habit that seems completely harmless, but is actually responsible for a massive percentage of early morning strokes. I call it the 3 a.m. stroke trap. Many seniors keep a large glass of water on their nightstand. Right before they turn off the lamp to go to sleep, they drink the entire glass, believing that staying hydrated overnight is crucial for their heart. This is a devastating biological mistake. By flooding your system with water right before you lie down, you guarantee one undeniable outcome. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night with a desperate, urgent need to empty your bladder. This condition is called nocturia. Waking up 3 or 4 times a night to use the bathroom is not just an annoying inconvenience, it is a severe cardiovascular threat. To understand why, you have to look at the architecture of human sleep. When you fall into deep, restorative sleep, your cardiovascular system finally gets a chance to rest. Your heart rate drops, and your blood pressure safely dips by about 10 to 20%. This nocturnal dipping is absolutely essential for the healing and repair of your arterial walls. But when your bladder is screaming at 2 in the morning, you are ripped out of that deep sleep. Your blood pressure begins to climb just from the stress of a full bladder. Then, the physical danger begins. You throw off the covers and immediately sit straight up or stand up to walk to the bathroom. Because you are older and because you have been lying flat for hours, your autonomic nervous system cannot react quickly enough to gravity. The blood instantly pools in your legs, pulling it away from your brain. This causes a sudden, massive crash in your blood pressure known as orthostatic hypotension. The room spins, you lose your balance, and you risk a devastating, bone-shattering fall in the dark hallway. But the stroke danger occurs when you finally reach the bathroom. Then, as you physically strain to empty your bladder, you perform the Valsalva maneuver, causing your internal pressure to spike even further. You have taken your heart from a state of deep restorative rest, forced it into a massive pressure crash by standing up too fast, and then slammed it with an explosive surge of adrenaline and physical straining, all within the span of 90 seconds. The Journal of Sleep Research has clearly documented that severe, frequent nocturia drastically increases the risk of cardiovascular mortality. By drinking that massive glass of water before bed, you ruined your nocturnal blood pressure dip, and you set a mechanical trap for your heart in the middle of the night. Your cardiovascular system is brilliant, but it requires stability. It cannot process massive tidal waves of freezing water. It cannot survive a total washout of its vital sodium, and it cannot withstand the violent pressure swings of midnight awakenings. I know this changes everything you have ever been told about drinking water, but I want to give you a clear, easily manageable protocol to ensure you stay perfectly, beautifully hydrated without ever putting your brain or your heart at risk. I call it the Heart-Safe Hydration Protocol. These are 4 mandatory steps you must adopt today. Step 1. The sip not chug rule. You must permanently retire the idea of chugging water. Throw away the massive 32-ounce jugs that encourage gulping. Buy a smaller 8-ounce glass. By introducing the water slowly, drip by drip, your stomach absorbs it gradually. Your blood plasma volume expands smoothly, allowing your stiffened arteries plenty of time to accommodate the fluid without ever causing a violent shear stress spike in your blood pressure. Step 2. The room temperature mandate. You must immediately stop putting ice in your drinking water. The thermal shock to your vagus nerve is a completely unnecessary, life-threatening risk. Keep a pitcher of filtered water sitting out on your kitchen counter, not in the refrigerator. When you drink water that is already at room temperature, your body does not have to expend massive amounts of energy heating it up, and your nervous system will never be shocked into a sudden bradycardic drop in heart rate. Step 3. The sundown cutoff. To protect your sleep architecture and eliminate the deadly 3 a.m. stroke trap, you must establish a strict fluid cutoff time. The vast majority of your daily hydration should occur between the time you wake up and the late afternoon. Once the clock strikes 6 p.m., or roughly 3 hours before your bedtime, you must stop aggressively drinking fluids. You may take tiny necessary sips to swallow your evening medications, but the heavy drinking must stop. This allows your kidneys enough time to process and expel the excess water before you go to sleep, guaranteeing you an uninterrupted night of deep, blood pressure-lowering rest. Step 4. The diuretic double check. If your doctor has prescribed you any medication ending in thiazide like hydrochlorothiazide or a loop diuretic like furosemide, you must be incredibly vigilant about your salt and water balance. Do not force yourself to drink a gallon of water a day. Drink only to your natural thirst. If you ever begin to experience sudden, unexplained confusion, extreme muscle weakness, or a severe headache, you must immediately inform a loved one or call for medical help, as these are the hallmark warning signs that your blood has become too diluted and your brain is beginning to swell. Water is the absolute foundation of human life. You cannot survive without it. You have the power to control these variables. You do not have to be a victim of arbitrary hydration quotas. By sipping slowly, avoiding ice, and protecting your sleep, you can provide your body with the exact hydration it needs without ever forcing your heart to pump against a catastrophic wall of pressure. I strongly, urgently implore you to share this video. Send it to your spouse, email it to your friends at the gym, or share it on your community social media pages. Millions of seniors are aggressively chugging freezing cold water right now, completely unaware of the massive hydraulic stress they are placing on their stiffened arteries. You have the power to educate them and potentially save them from a massive preventable stroke just by giving them this knowledge. If you found this deep dive into cardiovascular fluid dynamics valuable and you want to continue learning how to fiercely protect your health with pure scientific facts, please hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell. My commitment is to decode the complex medical science and bring you the unvarnished truth every single week so you can make the absolute best decisions for your longevity. Before you click away, please drop a comment down below. Tell me, do you tend to sip your water slowly throughout the day, or do you gulp down a large glass all at once? I read as many comments as I can, and your real-world habits help me understand exactly what dangerous daily routines I need to tackle in our next video. Use the knowledge I have shared with you today as a starting point for a serious, informed conversation with your healthcare team, especially if you are managing a complex condition like heart failure. Take this seriously and advocate for your vital organs. Thank you for your time today. Take care of your heart. It is the only one you have got, and I will see you in the next video.